absolutely love the book of Ruth. Matter of fact, it's my favorite book in the Bible. And it's not just because of the love that God orchestrated. It's just so much context, and it's just so rich in restoration, redemption, and lineage of Jesus Christ. It's just so much spiritual context. So I just absolutely love it. And I always find myself going back to read Ruth, and which brings me to what I want to say to you all today. For that person that may be on the other side of this screen listening to me, I want to encourage you to remain in your field. I want to encourage you to remain planted where the Lord told you to stay at, because Ruth did not chase Boaz. She was in survival and she was in purpose. Ruth wasn't studying no Boaz. She didn't know what a Boaz was at this particular time when she returned back to her mother-in-law Naomi hometown. Okay, so sometimes I believe when we get a word and we get a promise from God, it's so exciting, right? I can attest to that it's overwhelming, and we wait in expectation. But sometimes we become passively waiting, right? Sometimes we just wait and we just think that we can just stay the same, and we can do the same things that we done before, and that's okay. And a lot of times God is asking us to continue to move forward, continue to move in faith, continue to harvest in the field that he told us to harvest in. And when I say field, that field is different from each of us. And in this context, that field can be your ministry. It can be your business. If you're a mother, if you're a father, it can be you just in your parent role. It can be just your obedience and your faithfulness to God in this season. So it is so important to make sure that we are in purpose and that we are planted in the field. So when a promise come along, we can be found, okay? It's so important that we are in a field that God told us to remain in. Because again, Ruth did not chase Boaz. She was busy trying to make ends meet and provide provision for her and her elderly mother-in-law. She wasn't thinking about a Boaz. Matter of fact, she was probably still grieving and trying to cope with the loss of her own husband and her brother-in-law and her father-in-law as well. And then also trying to be there for her mother-in-law. So again, it's important as children of God that we stay planted what God told us to say planted, okay? And it's amazing because even when she was just out there gleaning, she was out there just picking up what the reapers was leaving behind. She was just trying to survive. It was there what God orchestrated, because in Ruth 2:3 it says, so she went out, entered a field, and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz. And I love that context, as it turns out, because y'all know, come on now, we're going to be 100% truthful. With God, it's no coincidence, okay? It's no as it turned out, because we know that God's hand is all over this. This was divinely orchestrated. But we know that nothing just happens with God. We know that God placed Ruth in the exact field for her destiny. Ruth's destiny extends beyond Boaz, okay? We know that she's in the lineage of Jesus Christ. We know that I believe she's the great-grandmother of David, King David. So, I mean, it's just so much wonderfulness that God had just worked from just a Moabite woman, a woman that wasn't even God's child at the, originally, but she converted over, okay? But I'm just saying how God had worked, but he would never been able to work if Ruth didn't stay in her field, if she didn't go into that field and she didn't harvest. So whatever your field may be, even if it's obedience, even if it's faithfulness, if God has called you to a season of isolation where it's just you and him, stay there. If he has called you to a season where he want to do a deep healing and it does not feel good, but you know it's for your good, and you can trace his hand over your life, I would encourage you, my brother and my sister, to continue to seek after him and continue to get your healing. Because as it turned out, that wherever you may be at is where the promise will meet you, okay? Stay in your field. Don't leave it because it feels empty. Harvest comes to those who stay planted. It's important that we stay planted. It's important that even through the excitement, even through the expectation, that we trust God that he will not pass us by, okay? Because God does not send out a word that returns to him empty, that returns to him void. He will send out a thing, a word to complete its purpose. Okay, so when he sends out a word and he done gave you a promise, just know that he's going to bring it to pass. But if you leave too soon, even during the waiting, because I know waiting can become so hard, right? Waiting can become so tiring. You don't need to compromise. You don't need to go out there and chase. Don't go out there and manipulate. Don't go out there and try to turn an Ishmael into an Isaac. So some people say, don't go out there and turn a promise into a counterfeit. Wait up on God, even when it's hard. Because Ruth would have missed Boaz if she returned to Moab. If Ruth would have turned around and she would have said, there's nothing for me. I can't take care of Naomi. I'm still young. I'm still in my childbearing years. Naomi can't give me another son. I'm going to go back to my people. I'm going to go back to my God. She would have never been in the lineage of Jesus. She would have never met Boaz. But due to her faithfulness, favor found her in that field. And favor will find you in whatever field that God has placed you in if you remain there and you don't leave too soon, okay? And you got to also know that your character attracts destiny. Yes, Boaz noticed Ruth's loyalty, her faithfulness, okay? So if you faithful, God uses your character to attract the right people. So continue to walk in integrity, continue to walk in consistency and godly character, and know that no good thing that the Lord sent your way will pass you by, okay? And the field prepares you. Whatever field that you may find yourself planted in, know that it prepares you and it teaches you on how to handle and get ready for the next season. Ruth went from gleaning to owning, okay? She went from just a poor Moabite woman to being in the lineage of Jesus Christ, to being the great grandparent of King David, okay? So God watches growth before releasing promises, because he will never send us something that's from him and we're not prepared for. It's not that he wants to withhold things from us, okay? He just wants us to have a heart and a character and a development we need to receive and to hold on to those things. So y'all, don't worry about being found. Continue to be faithful. Be found harvesting. Be found doing what the Lord has called you to do, not hiding. Be found becoming, okay? Be found becoming that man that God has called you to be. Be found becoming that woman that God has called you to be. All right, and just know that your harvest is coming. Stay in your field until it does. Stay where God has planted you. Stay where God is using you. Stay where God is developing you, even when you're tired of waiting, even when it seems like the promise will never come to pass. Know that God will never speak a word and it returns to him void. Know that in the fullness of time, when God sees fit, that he will send you your Boaz. He will send you the man that he has for you, okay? Or the woman that he has for you, because I'm sure I'm going to have some fellas watching this as well. And he's going to stir your heart and he's going to awaken love. But in the meantime, we don't need to awaken love until it's time, okay? So I hope this message blesses you all, and I hope it keeps you all. So until then, remember to stay where you're planted and that your harvest is coming. Until next time, I love y'all. God bless. And y'all, please keep the faith.